week or another episode of Wizards of the Couch. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight's topic, for those of you who haven't seen it online, is D&D and the influence of heavy metal, I think is how we originally put it. But really, it's music in general, art in general, but we really want to focus on the heavy metal aspects because I think, everybody's wearing a black T-shirt except Jimmy. But he has a black backdrop.
Black heart.
So Jimmy. All that, and hopefully we're going to be welcoming our guests. They're running a little late right now. They're in a band, man. What can you do? What are you going to do? You know, they might have other priorities at the moment. So I just want to clue everybody in who has not seen this show before. We are an adult show, so there's a little bit of swearing here and there. We're fairly irreverent. We typically all have a beverage on hand. I'm getting into the Yule spirit. And there's spirits in this Yule. So just everybody just realize, it's an adult themed show, and we're gonna have a good time talking about musical influences and how that influences our role playing experiences. So I'll start off with me. I'm Danny Grimes. I'm a professional GM. I run large scale events at Gen Con and other conventions. I'm also a graphic designer for Wisco Games. I do a lot of the layout as well. Also a train maker and a cartographer. I'm going to pass it along to, I'm not sure which
not a train maker. He's
today.
Not that weird guy that lives, no.
I live in this basement. Matt, otherwise known as Casey Rift, is the owner and runs Kobold Con. He's also the head of the Blackwood Society, and he keeps us all in line here at Wisco Games. What are you drinking, Matt?
I switched it up a little bit. I'm drinking the last of my Oktoberfest from Sierra Nevada tonight.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's really good. Not quite on par with Sam Adams, but it's pretty good.
What was it last week? What's 2 weeks ago? The Caber one?
Yeah, Caber tossed this. Caber tossed this, you wee lad.
Yeah. Matt has the best name.
Matt gets a little silly on that one.
I'm having just a rum and coke. He's having.
I was just editing the video today. I was getting a little.
We were all a little rough.
He's catching up. He did. I want to actually at the very end of the show talk about where you were last week because it was super awesome and your pictures were.
Oh yeah.
So this other guy, Brian, I see that guy at every convention. Berg is an author and a game designer, and he is the honcho over at Total Party Kill Games, which I'm sure you know if you've bought any of their supplements or gotten dice from him or seen him at a convention ubiquitously. And he is kind of keeps everything running smooth.
Unironically.
Here at Wisco. And then we've got, what are you drinking, Brian?
Today I'm having Ruthie by Exile, which I believe is an Iowa beer, and it is a delicious, delicious golden lager.
Right.
Like I could drink 10 of them delicious.
Wow. So is it a session or is it just a regular beer that you drink 10 of?
No, it's just a delicious beer.
Just a lush.
He's just a lush. Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, guys.
It's delicious.
Delicious.
And then last but not least is Jimmy Duffy. He is the chief reject over at Praetor's Rejects Twitch channel. And he organizes all of our Twitch activity. He's the tech nerd extraordinaire, and he keeps the Twitch stream running from his cozy cave way down south. What do you
Twitches?
The Praetor Cave. So... Yes, last little bit of shiner, because I always got to have my glass for everybody.
Yes,
so
that's right. That's right.
Normally I would like it in a bottle, but I put it in a glass.
What are those strange arcane symbols on your glass?
A wonderful football team that got its ass beat last night by Buffalo.
Well, it's a football team. I'll give you that.
We've got band members incoming. Oh, no.
My summoning circle in the shower worked.
Weird.
They're inbound. One moment, folks. Somebody's coming
I saw
in.
cool terrain for just a second there. Well, anyway, we're going to pause here for a second because our guests are getting sorted out on their end.
So you mentioned CobaltCon earlier. I just found out today, or we just secured today, RPEX. Cosmo Joe with 6D6 is going to be bringing his role-playing experience out to CobaltCon this year, so that's pretty exciting. We just got that.
And Cosmo is a role-playing experience all to himself.
All to himself.
So
He's a walking role-playing
You get two
experience.
experiences. You get two experiences with Cosmo. You get Cosmo, and then whatever Cosmo's doing.
that's right.
That's right. So if you've never met Cosmo,
Real quickly while we're waiting, what is his experience? I keep hearing about this, and I don't know anything.
yeah, it's a mix between dice role-playing and live-action role-playing. So it specifically says in the description, not a LARP, but it's a lot of cosplay and swinging swords and rolling big fat D20.
Which actually makes it a little bit cooler than True Dungeon, because in True Dungeon, a lot of it there's like, you have to do shuffleboard in order to hit the monsters. I think the RPX thing has some more interesting mechanics to make it a little more interactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be interested to try it. Do you sign up for it as like a big separate event? You pay like $50 to play, or what's the deal?
It does have a fee. I don't think it's $50. I think it may be more closer to 20, something like that. But
that's nice.
Yeah, they do 6 players at a time. It looks fun. Looks like it's going to be a pretty entertaining time. And like I was saying, like everybody else already knows here, Cosmo in and of himself coming out to the convention is going to be entertaining enough. So yeah, pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's cool. We did True Dungeon a few times a couple of years back, and I can't fault them for charging what they charge. It's a big enterprise, and they do a lot of cool stuff. But I like, hey,
Hi.
Band member.
yeah, right on.
Come on, guys.
Not much, man, not much. Hey, real quick, let me just say then, since we got you on, so who am I talking to? I don't know everybody's faces perfectly.
That was great. This is Eric.
Hey, Eric, nice to meet you, man.
Hey, man.
Welcome.
So Eric is here representing, possibly by himself, or maybe some other people are going to join in, the Gygax Band. And being rock fans like we all are, and being super nerds like we all are, the Gygax Band is like, honestly, the perfect confluence of those two things. And it doesn't undersell the rock band part of it. It's not a joke.
Oh yeah, not at all.
I imagine one of the things I'm going to ask you about is like how many people kind of hassle you in the beginning about being a parody or something like that. But I want to save that for later. So anyway, the Gygax Band obviously is named after our Lord and all Father Gary Gygax, but it was born from the ashes of Gypsyhawk with Eric and Bryant Throckmorton, and they have released 3 albums so far. We're going to definitely get plugs in and get you in the doobly-doo under the video when we post. But these are 3 really outstanding albums, and they range from fairly heavy metal into kind of just like straight ahead hard rock and roll. I'm not a genre dog, so I don't really care.
Me neither.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I've never met anybody who played music that I thought was heavy metal, and then when I asked them, they're like, no, that's not really what no, not really. So anyway, without further ado, why don't we just launch into it? Welcome, Eric, to Wizards of the Couch.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for letting me be here. I messed up the time, so I was like, I have so much time, and then I was like, oh, the standard. What?
We chalked it up to rock and roll lifestyle. We just were like,
There you go.
Yeah.
he's probably on a Learjet somewhere, and
Oh, yes. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it?
It's really our fault that we live in the central time zone. I mean, Iowa and Wisconsin, so
Yeah. I just my
Texas.
brain never does what I want it to do.
And we're talking to you out of California, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So the way we usually get the ball rolling is we kind of just talk about like early influences.
Mhm.
And so we obviously want to know kind of like how you got into gaming, but I'm going to say that my steps into hard rock, I'll give you my quick influence. Maybe we can go round the horn real quick.
started with Striper.
Because we can talk about a couple of different kinds of influences
We
here,
already
right?
decided it was poison.
Poison.
Don't
Cinderella.
don't say that word. My first 2 albums were Leonard Skynyrd Live at the Fox and Rush Exit Stage Left. My cousin from Texas showed up with a bunch of illicit things in his bag, I'm sure, but he also had these albums, and these 2 he gave to me, and that got me into rock and roll. And obviously Rush then led me actually more or less directly into D&D because of just the influences some of those albums concepts had on me. What about you, Brian?
Oh, geez. My first like rock albums.
Yeah.
I have to thank my mother because she really truly introduced me into great music. Like I grew up listening to the Doors and the Beatles and Alice Cooper. And so that's really my first stuff. But there was a really awful period in the 80s, like the early 80s, where I don't even know what was going on. And I'm not even going to tell you, like, it was probably Duran Duran or some shit that I was listening to, right? But my mom comes back and she's got this cassette tape that she bought at a garage sale. And she's like, hey, this is going to change your life. I'm like, what? And then like that scene in Pulp Fiction where they open the case and it glows. She handed me Black Sabbath's We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. That was it. I mean, I was a metalhead from that day on. Just.
That's awesome. What about you, KC? What was your early rock experience?
Well, I'm going to lose some cred, I think, probably. But my first concert was Whitesnake, believe it or not.
Right.
And
Coverdale?
Yeah, my uncle. I can thank my uncle for that because I remember him taking me up to Kansas City, Missouri, I guess, back in the '80s for Whitesnake, and then Def Leppard. I think was a pretty big influence for a little while. So a little bit different than Black Sabbath and whatnot. But I think Metallica, like one, that was probably my first one that I felt like I owned as my own. Like that was my first selection on my own. Everything else up to that point had been kind of spoon-fed to me.
What about you, Jimmy?
Sorry to say, guys, I'm a Van Halen guy all the way through. Always will be. So classic stuff. Most of their concerts. But my first one was the Stones and ZZ Top and Fabulous T-Birds back in '81, and so I do remember that. But yeah, I'm a Van Halen AC/DC boy. So yeah.
So far, not a clunker in the bunch. These are all solid choices. And what about you, Eric? Like, what was the thing that grabbed you?
I mean, I've always been like just into music, a lot of different bands growing up, Finding Your Way. But I remember the first time that like rock and roll hit, and some friends in Ohio, they would invite us over and we'd go and sit over and they'd turn out their lights and turn on blue lights. And just, there was nothing, just the blue lights and a record player. And they would just pass around a joint and just play Black Sabbath. It was
nice.
tight, man. That's like, I think that's like the first time, because I'd always like heard, you hear Iron Man on the radio and stuff like that, and you're just like, whatever. But they were playing like choice cuts, man. I think it was National Acrobat. It was like the first thing that hit really hard. So yeah, like that. And then kind of from those guys, like they had turned me on to, At the Gates was another one at that same time, because that Slaughter of the Soul had just come out, and man, yeah. So that's probably, I don't know, around there.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to flip it back to you right away, Eric, and just kind of ask you to delve back in. Was that around the same time, like you were forming those musical tastes and hanging around that group of weirdos in the blue light? Because let's face it, we're all in some level a group of weirdos in the blue light, right? Was that where the role-playing influences started to come in? You played D&D. Was that the beginning?
Role-playing came way earlier in life. I grew up like in a household that was, they bought into that whole satanic panic thing.
Oh yeah,
so they were super religious, and we were banned from doing anything like that. So like friends of mine in school, like we knew about D&D, we just weren't allowed to like get our hands on any of it. And so we kind of started like formulating like RPGs, like, you know, simple engines like that we would come up with. And that, I think that was like my first like introduction to it, because they were like, don't touch this. And I was like, well, now I want to. So then I spent the rest of my life.
Worst thing you could possibly
The
have done.
surest way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, as soon as that was like not allowed, I ended up playing like later on in life around like 19, 20. And then, you know, played music for a while and got to like kind of play not as much as I wanted to, you know, the in-betweens, but.
Right.
Yeah, the band hammer is always going to rebound on the wielder. That's the way it always works, man.
Mm-hmm.
Any forbidden fruit is that much tastier all the way back to the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So what were so you say you were building your own systems. I mean, that's pretty
That's pretty awesome.
It was like, it wasn't anything like I can recall from like, you know, record keeping stuff, but it was just like kids, like we were probably like what, 8-10 years old, like just coming up with like, okay, if we roll like, you know, it was incredibly simplified, you know, like we roll 1 to 10, like this decision A or decision B, like things like that. Because like I said before, like we weren't allowed to even like read the devil's books, you know, so it's like we were just guessing at what we were doing. But I'd always liked like just that fantasy imagery was always like so appealing, and like just the stories, and you know, being able to like create and just pretend like, you know, just an alternate life that you could live was so rad.
And the art back in that time frame was very very conducive rather for me too. I mean, and we talked about that a couple shows ago, where just some of the art that was coming along at that time for Zeta and whatnot was just incredibly easy to get to dive into that mentality.
Yeah.
I had a Doom priest that had that Sam Hain logo as his holy symbol, that crazy cover. Yeah. And I actually left Sam Hain on it, and everybody's like, what does that mean? I'm like, get a little closer, you'll find out, you know, that kind of thing. Like, I just wholesale lifted that shit right off the album cover.
It's like heavy metal and like D&D has always been like, just, you know, it's just a pair, you know?
Right. I think though, you know, when you're talking about making systems, I think that's really fascinating. For me, it kind of came out of playing Cowboys and Indians, which I realize is not politically correct to say, lawless men and Native Americans. And there was always that controversy over, I shot you. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
And finally, that got so freaking frustrating. I'm like, okay, all right then.
Let me roll my D20.
Let me roll my D20, bitch. We'll find out who hit who. So, like, when you talk about like the imagery affecting it, was there ever like any really memorable moments that you kind of almost thought, wow, I could like write a song about this, like, or were there songs you had written that maybe kind of came out in gameplay? Is that too literal?
No, like I think the idea of like writing the songs and like from like the imagery and from like just, you know, the content with all that, I had friends that had turned me on to the Song of Ice and Fire books, the George R. R. Martin books, like way later.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
we've heard of those before.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that small series. So I read the first one and I was just like, oh my God, you know, like it just blew my mind. So I'd always like write stuff with Gypsyhawk, like based off of that series, and then the Dune book series. So like, I don't know, it just kind of came one of those things. It's like, I don't really care what I'm writing about. I'm just looking for something to write because we like what we're playing. As far as like the instrumental part goes. So I don't know, I just pulled ideas from that, like those kinds of things. And
so whenever I watch like I watch a lot of documentaries, a lot of band documentaries, and so often it seems like there's kind of a split between people that had shared interests versus people who are like, we need a bassist, you know, and like it doesn't matter, you know, we just need somebody who can play those lines, right?
A cleric.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody needs a cleric. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, do you ever feel like as a bassist, maybe you're a little bit like the healing cleric? So how did it come about? Like, how did when Gypsyhawk kind of went to one side and Gygax came to the fore? Like, was everybody gamers or was it just?
No. I don't think anybody I played with has been into gaming at all.
It's amazing that you got that buy-in then.
Yeah. I mean, I've always loved gaming, and it's been like relevant to me. And like, I think when I was playing with Gypsyhawk, like no one else wrote lyrics, or they were just like, I just play this, you know. So it was left on me, and I was like, well, what do I want to write about? And I don't know, like the whole like personal sentimental stuff was like not that appealing. So I was like, dude, writing songs about like stories that I've already heard is just such a cool bardic thing to do.
Yeah. Wow. I never. That's an interesting correlation between being the primary songwriter and the GM, right? Are you usually the game master, or
no, man, not at all. No.
Wow.
I know. I'm not that great at it.
Really?
That's fine.
I bet you are. But
damn good bard. We know that now.
That's
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If we're looking for a bard, man, I'll ring you up.
We'll set you in as an NPC in one of our products. Guarantee it.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure, man.
You'll be wielding world.
As you are. You're ready to go. You know what I mean? So, how frequently do you still get to play? I mean, life gets in the way, right? I mean, we're all. Yeah. I'm probably quite a bit older than you, but like I get a lot of time intrusion. People are jealous of their time, and it's hard to find, especially when you got real things going on. You know, it's not college or high school anymore. Yeah. So, like, how do you still find time for it? Or is it just now kind of a thing in the past that's referenced?
No, man, it's funny you should mention that. I have a group that it's not D&D. We play Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But, yeah, it's
Much love.
What's up?
Much love. Yeah, Pathfinder's great.
You play in? Is it first edition or second edition? You guys
I think it's second edition.
Oh, nice, cool.
But we play out in Camarillo once a week. But like you were saying with the scheduling, like I remember, like I went. We go every Sunday, so I went last Sunday. I have another we have another game this Sunday. So I've been trying to jump on every one because for a while there we couldn't like orchestrate everyone's schedules for and it's such a bummer because I was just like, God, like I want to know what happens. Like I want to keep going. Like it's just like that. It's an addiction, man. It's just like it's there and it's real, you know. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for everybody, and that weekly thing, that's bold, man. That's like incredible. The pinnacle. That's the pinnacle achievement. Except for Jimmy, of course, who like all through October ran like a game every fucking day.
Yeah, he still hasn't recovered. He's got that twitch still.
Yeah, he's still got that little. So not quite yet, right?
Twitch here. Yeah. So yeah.
Although now that I think back, he kind of always was like that. Well, anyway. Yeah, right on. So the albums are, I think, amazing. You got 3 albums, second edition, High Fantasy, and the new one. No, wait. Which one's the new one?
High Fantasy.
High Fantasy is the new one. My favorite is second edition.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's something about that opening track that it's just. I'm having a period right now of like being really into like Red Fang and Clutch. Mm-hmm. And those kind of bands, and as soon as that first like hits, I'm just like, yeah, that's the stuff. So, like when you sit down to write the music, I mean, not all of it's super on point with gaming. I mean, there's some other stuff influencing in there, but how do you kind of set that tone? How do you start the process of writing?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, good. Nobody else knows either.
Depends on what he's been doing beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, asking bands about things. I feel like everybody's like,
there's some blue lights involved.
Like, yeah, it's so crazy, and it's like, like Bryant and I normally when I met him, he was playing in Gypsyhawk. Like I've never played with a musician that works so well, and it's one of those things. It's like a really rare thing to find. So once you find it, it's like we don't know how we've created a song. Like after we've got it all down, like hearing High Fantasy was like, what the fuck? Like we were just singing shit in our heads, like in our shitty practice room, like, you know, a few months ago. So to hear that the whole thing come together it's cool. But yeah, man, like I really don't know where it comes, and we don't really kind of like mastermind like what's going to go first. This is going to be the best, you know, like just kind of like throw everything how we think it should sound and see what happens.
Well, does it typically start with the music?
Yeah, it always starts with riffs. Like usually Bryant writing something, and Bryant will bring something, and I'll just be like, "Oh, that's sick." It'll inspire me to put down a bass line, and then as we're doing that, the structure kind of just like, I don't know, just kind of like forms, and then we'll put drums on it, and it usually just takes no time at all. Especially with Mucho now on drums, man, that guy he fits in so well that like. It's surreal that like we don't realize that we're writing songs sometimes.
Brian, were you about to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, you guys, your material is so genuine and so good. I'm a big fan of the first album. I was absolutely blown away when I heard that because I got to be honest. I was like, Gygax, you guys. And I'm like, all right, I'll listen to it. And that wave hit me, and I'm like, holy shit. This is real music. This is like groovy stoner metal, which again, I don't know what you want to define yourself as, but I fucking loved it. And then of course the lyrics draw you in too, if you're a gamer, of course.
Yeah.
Very impressed.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, dude.
And musically it's super engaging. And I think it has to be, always, because that's the thing I think that most people tune into. You know what I mean? I'm a lyric guy. I love lyrics. I learn them. I sing along. I do all that stuff. But I'm always surprised when I meet many, many people who are like, I have no idea what they're singing about. And they love the song. Like, there's no question they love it. Yeah. But they're just like, I have no idea because I don't care. I'm just like, how can you not care? But I guess, I know
those two schools. It's interesting to like see that, like, that separation from it, but like man, like Brian and I are like, we're very like he's a big jazz guy too, so we're really into melody and harmony, like hooks that just catch you. It's like, it doesn't matter what people are saying. It's just like that sound just gives like a physiological reaction.
Yes.
It's like thrilling, and that's, we thrive off of that, and that's why we play, is because like it's almost like, getting drunk or getting high. It's like, just it creates this feeling that you can't like duplicate, and so whenever we get to do it, it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I can't count the number of songs growing up. I mean, I've had those epiphanies later in life, like, that's what that song's about. Holy crap. Because just at the time it was just like drinking or getting drunk or whatever for your mind, for your eardrum.
It's like, that's, people that like, that's like, I don't know, like just like working out or like doing something, like it can create such an energy like build to like where you want to do something because you're like, this is so inspiring,
Right. What is that, dopamine? Is that a dopamine drip?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Knowledge.
Hashtag knowledge.
Where's the Berg? Where is it?
Hashtag big words.
Berg. Come on. Hashtag. Damn it.
Usually I have all these great like note cards with hashtags on them. They're pretty hilarious. And today I was so serious about you guys being on here. Hey, do you guys ever get out to the Midwest? I mean, what was your last?
I saw they don't. Where the touring schedule takes y'all? Seems all West Coast.
Less in a while. We want to go. It's just one of those things. Like, touring's awesome, and it's way awesome when you're in your 20s.
Yep.
You don't really care, and then as you crawl through life, and then you hit 30, and then past 30, it's like, shit, man, I don't know if this is possible anymore. So.
Oh, dude, you got a ways to go. You got a ways to go.
Yeah. You think you're crawling now?
Oh man,
I need to sell that Learjet so we can get some touring funds.
Exactly. Well, the reason I ask is I was at Gen Con a couple of years ago, and there was a band playing Gen Con on the concourse called Les Zeppelin.
Oh yeah, I've heard about them.
Holy shit. And so in the same vein, man, like, we got to get you out to Indianapolis to throw down some
Oh, we for sure want to go and hit a lot of spots. I've had a couple of ideas for things, but it's just one of those things, like the scope or like of what we want to do would take like a full team to do it. And right now it's just three of us. So.
Well, we know some guys who are connected to the gaming industry. We can help you out.
Yeah.
Did you had did I see that you guys had a game with Luke Gygax not too long ago, or hung out with him or something?
We didn't game with him, but we did. He invited us to play Founders and Legends too.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he all I was going to say is he'd be a great resource to get you out. To
Luke is the best.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He was just on our show.
I know. Because Luke and I are pretty tight.
All right.
Then what we happen?
I think going out to Gary Con would be a great.
Luke,
don't mind.
Get them to the con.
Hear them going out to Gary Con. We really want to do that. Like,
you definitely should.
Yeah, I want to hit.
Who did they have? It seemed like they had somebody out there that was you never would have imagined was going to go, and it was the brewery. They had brought that brewery last year.
Yeah,
and they had all the RPG themed beers. That was awesome. It'd be great.
Oh my God, dude. It was so crazy, Eric.
Is that why they were just pouring that stuff out, trying to get rid of it? I mean, every time you turned around, it was just picture after picture. It was like, God.
I must have missed that in the 3 minutes that I was there. Huh?
Man.
Yeah, well, you have to be there longer than 10 minutes to,
Every con like that?
Hey,
you know,
Brian is great as long as you catch him between naps.
No, that was uncalled for, but funny. All right, so moving on with the guest questions.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put you on the hot seat now. Dio or Ozzy?
Dio, man. But that's me. Bryant will probably hit me. That's fine. I deserve it. But yeah, that's for me. Yeah, Dio.
I'm also a Dio guy.
I think Dio was the first correlation I had too with like heavy metal and fantasy stuff.
Absolutely.
Because I would listen to Dio lyrics, and I remember there was dudes like, Dungeons and Dragons is pussy stuff, you know, like that kind of attitude while they were listening to Dio, and I was like, he's talking about rainbows and spells and tigers and shit right now, man.
Yeah, so good.
Oh,
yeah. Dio's down.
That's hilarious. And
that's funny.
His stuff that he did with Black Sabbath is no joke either. That's some of the most classic.
Wow, well, I got this bootleg DVD of it was the Black and Blue tour with Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh yeah, I saw that tour.
Started singing, dude. That show was sick, man.
Yep.
Geezer and Tony just look like coke dealers, just flat out, just like full white suits, like gold chains and shit. And Dio's got his, his V-neck like tunic on, so rad.
Cowboy boots and sword.
I saw that show. I saw that show at Alpine Valley, and Blue Oyster Cult was so much louder.
Oh, that's great.
I couldn't believe. Yeah, it was crazy, just crazy.
So
wow, man,
I happen to agree with you.
Blue in a long time.
Awesome. Dio happens to be my favorite concert of all time because I saw him well after his prime at a shithole bar, and he was so amazing and so generous with his time. They did 3 encores.
Damn. See, and he seemed like a really real dude, you know?
Right.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Like he never let it take him away to like, the lofty heights of,
He's in Valhalla, man. Yeah. He's like that dwarf who like serves Odin. You know what I mean? Like he's like right there at the right-hand side of the throne, handing him his mead cup and his fucking axe.
Yes.
Okay. One of the reasons that I even brought that up is just recently Rob Schwalb put out a new Shadow the Demon Lord product called Killing the Dragon, which is the name of one of Dio's songs. Mm-hmm. And like I see a lot of musical influences in Rob's work. And so I want to call it out on Facebook and be like, I see what you did there, sir, and I'm proud of you. But,
You're letting the man have his secrets?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, so...
If we're broadcasting it over the internet.
But, shh, don't tell anybody. Aren't you glad you came onto this?
Good time, man.
Good. All right, so by day, I work as a brand manager for a video game company. So that's where this question comes in. You had to have known that it was probably risky to tie yourself so closely to D&D. I mean, look at the first album, absolutely, right?
Uh-oh. Here comes somebody.
We got somebody.
Uh-oh, someone's coming in.
Another Gygax.
Right. Don't tell him about you.
Z. I gotta go remix my drink.
Okay, we'll take a quick moment. That's too funny.
Oh no!
I've seen Ozzy, of course, but never have I seen Black Sabbath. That's a shame.
Yeah, I saw them. I think we played with them when I was playing with another band at Ozfest. Like 4 or 5 years ago or something?
Oh man,
it was like, supposed to be like one of their like last shows, and then they keep having last shows.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, he legitimately thinks it is his last show.
He's just not sure anymore.
Yeah.
That's true.
My 2 favorite shows, it's a tie between Master of Puppets tour.
Oh yeah, good one.
And Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. Because Number of the Beast was just like when they have the over like the and it is written, when that shit came out of those speakers, I was like,
yeah.
And it was
Iron Maiden, yeah, man. Like that was one of those bands. Like the first time you hear them, you're just like, "What the fuck?" And like,
Yeah, right.
it's like they've been hiding a world from me, and you just get super deep into it. You know?
Yeah. And every one of their album covers looked like something out of D&D. I mean, it was just like, maybe the latter ones less so, but I mean, their early stuff, I could just stare at those album covers for hours.
Yeah, those are sick, man.
Of course, I was probably baked, so that probably didn't help. Wow, man.
A few years ago, my wife for my birthday got me tickets to go see an outdoor concert, and Alice Cooper and Iron Maiden played on the same stage, same day. I'm almost like,
holy crap.
That's sick, man.
Now, the excellent part is that she didn't really know Iron Maiden, right? That's not exactly in her wheelhouse. So when she sat there and watched the whole thing, the whole spectacle that is Iron Maiden live, right? She was like, wow, that was really cool. She doesn't know any of the songs, but I really thought it was neat.
That's the thing, though. It's like everyone can hear that band and be like, whoa, this is sick. Not like, oh, this heavy metal's too loud. They're always just like, geez, that was an adventure.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you could never attract new fans. If it was only the nerds who knew you back when, you'd have a pretty damn small audience. You got to have something that, like,
kind of bridge it, man.
From across the way, you hear, and you're like,
yeah,
go over there. Now that's some epic level bard shit right there.
How many guitarists are in this band?
Yeah. I think actually now Iron Maiden has 3.
We've got golden stuff here, Danny. I'm going to clip that later on, Val.
Brian's trying to join us, and he doesn't know how to use a computer.
So I don't know if Bryant is going to be joining us on video, but
can you hear us?
Brian, can you hear us? Great.
Are you capable of talking shit?
Well, we got his name on the screen. That's a start.
He's connected. He hadn't got his audio on for his camera.
We all prefer Dio to Ozzy. We all prefer Dio.
Oh, that's going to get a disconnect. Click.
I'm trying to summon him, man. All right. Well, why don't we continue on, Brian? Why don't you go ahead?
I'll start over.
Sorry.
You had to have known that it was risky to put yourself so closely associated with D&D, right? Mm-hmm. The name of the band is Gygax, named after the co-founder of D&D, right? Mm-hmm. You've got dice on the cover. Every song alludes to Dungeons and Dragons. Like, as a nerd, I was just like, right? But to your average Joe metalhead, do you risk turning them away? Having them perhaps not take you as seriously as they could? Miss the magic that is your music?
No, because
good answer.
We don't really take it seriously. So like I think like you get the people that were like, hey, dice and fantasy, I know this. And they want to know what it's about, So like a lot of those people we've had be like, I've never heard music like this in my life with guitars, and I was like, okay, well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have the other people that come in like, I don't know what the fuck a Dungeons and Dragons is, but music is great, and it's like, cool, that's awesome, because that's really what we were just trying to do. It's like there's no like, we're not trying for anything. It just it's fun, and it seemed like a cool idea, and it's stuff that we're into, or at least I'm into.
And you write the songs, man.
Yeah, so everybody can fuck off. Am I gonna get in trouble for cussing?
Bravo. Yes.
Well, it seems to me bands do concept albums, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So it's a concept for a band that is, the imagery is so like rock and roll anyway. I don't think it's very much of a stretch, really.
No, not at all, man. It works so well together.
So speaking of imagery, I recall, and kind of tying into my question, I recall probably being 13, walking through the CDs, because once upon a time we listened to actual physical music.
I remember that time.
I remember that. I remember.
And I'm flipping through the metal CDs, and I'm like, I see this, like, it very much looks like Frazetta art, but I don't think it was. And it was Manowar, right? Every single cover of Manowar is this amazing, like, crazy metal fantasy dude, with super ripped guy. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm buying it. Right? Yeah. And then pretty soon later, it's like Black Wind, Fire and Steel.
That.
Yeah. But it was great, though,
Yeah.
I think
Oh, hey, we got another one. Oh, wait, we got two.
He's got two going on. Okay. So
Hey, there he is.
Oh,
he's double connected in. We don't know what he's doing here. So I'm gonna pop this one.
oh my God! You look so cool, man.
Dude, I got this elf onesie.
Oh my God! Someone clip it. Someone clip that for us, please. So this is just gonna be golden show tonight.
That is epic.
Oh my God!
What's going on, guys?
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
You, sir, know how to make an introduction. Yeah.
Hey, I'm late, but I'm here.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
all
right on,
right.
man. You're
You're
welcome.
late,
You're
but what a
welcome.
splash.
A wizard is never late.
Yeah, just to catch you up real quick, Bryant. This is basically just people sitting around after a show talking shit. We're vaguely themed with gaming and D&D, but we've just been talking about music a lot. So feel free to leap right in.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks.
Should we ask him the question, Brian?
And feel
Oh,
free to blame
yeah. I'll
Andy.
give you the hot seat question, too, man.
Ooh, there you go.
The question.
Ozzy or Dio?
Fuck, that's way too hard.
It is.
You have to take a stance on live.
On live?
You're
We're
live right now. We want to know.
Don't fuck us over.
If I had a gun to my head, I would say Ozzy, but Dio, the man. Yeah.
Especially if Ozzy had that gun to your head.
That'd be pretty shaky.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I would say Ozzy and Post Malone.
Well, we were just talking about like imagery, and I think that's why it kind of came up. Like Brian and I both share a serious love for hard rock and heavy metal, and both Ozzy and Dio, they have a lot of that crazy like dragons and wizards and that kind of imagery going on. So we've been talking to Eric a little bit about just how that imagery plays into the music, and then how the music kind of like bubbles up. So that's kind of where that's some of the other stuff we've been covering too. Now we were talking with him, and he basically said that like you don't really play.
I don't. What's D&D?
Excellent first question. Now I feel like I'm being interviewed.
Who's Dio?
I don't, but I appreciate the things that he does sing about and the way he writes it. But I'm mostly just a riff man. Love riffing it. But yeah, the gimmick is interesting, and that's why I thought this would be very appropriate.
Oh, you're that kind of elf. I see.
Yes. Metal elf.
A torturous one. Mocking.
Dio is the metal elf.
Oh man.
Hey, I was gonna say, have you heard Elf?
I have.
Yeah, that was pretty tight.
Who is this? Is this somebody I don't know?
Dio's band.
Dio's band.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yes, I know.
After he stopped doing 50s doo-wop, right?
Yeah.
Well,
There was some guy named Richie Blackmore that was part of the band too, and no big deal. But
Well, we got one that plays and one that maybe knows it's a game and all that. So the corny questions that were coming out of me were, we have an answer for Eric here. What character class do you associate yourself with? And we know you're a bard. It sounds like a bass playing bard and all that. But Bryant, what about you? He's
an elf.
He's an elf. We're gonna look like it. Yeah.
I'm a fighter and
Class in
a
first
part-time
edition.
elf.
Part fighter,
Yeah.
part-time elf. Okay.
I like it.
Okay. The serious question though was, and Eric, you've mentioned a little bit about, how you're writing, but I don't know the music as well as these other guys here. So does the songs that you're writing, have you gone back and does it incorporate any of the past lore of the game or any of the content that's been published out there, bringing some of that in, or is you strictly just what y'all feel and what you're writing about what the theme is of the song, just something off the cuff?
We never really write about or I don't write anything about specifically to lore all the time, except for I'll get ideas about things we did Song of the Silver Hands was about the Harpers of Midnight and all that, and Mostly,
there is some context there with that.
Yeah, there's a little. Yeah, it's a little. It's like if there's like a story or like some like there was like a module that's like inspiring. Like I'll be like, hey, let's write about it because it'll fill up lyrics, and I don't know how to write those, so it's gonna be so easy. Just that inspiration is what's fun with this band for me to like write lyrics. What I've been doing recently too, especially with High Fantasy, was just like picking monsters and like the cool ones I like the most, like Displacer Beast and Beholder. Clearly,
you need a mimic.
We did that one too. We did the song "Something So Familiar" is about a mimic.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
So we got you covered.
Elf is on the move. He's on the move.
He's got an all bear song for anybody.
He's finding something.
Priorities. That we need a hashtag for priorities.
Where are you going?
I hope he's getting a drink.
I need to get my little vape.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, looks like a kazoo.
Now, would it be apropos he starts playing that on stream?
Brian.
Yeah, okay. Here's his music of choice here.
I'm sorry.
We're very serious.
We need to ask Bryant too about his introduction to metal. Like, what was the band that flipped your switch?
Oh man, it was Black Sabbath and Randy Rhoads.
Yeah,
Ozzy, that's what it was. And when I first started playing guitar, my dad was like, "You want to play guitar? Learn Randy Rhoads." And that was like right when Napster was coming out. And I remember I got to download the
Napster.
We were on Napster program.
Napster. Wow.
I just studied Randy Rhoads stuff and just worshipped him.
Your dad told you if you want to learn guitar, learn Randy Rhoads.
Yep.
You have the coolest fucking dad ever.
It's like, hey,
Really great.
have lofty goals.
My dad said, "Get a job and do a hard day's work."
Right. That's probably the better advice, but
No, I'm not 100% sure, especially if you're a talented guitarist.
yeah. That and Rainbow
Rainbow.
Yeah, Rainbow, man.
right there.
Rainbow's got some
Blackmore.
rips.
Yeah, so we were talking before about how the music kind of bubbles up, and I just wanted to get Bryant's, 2 cents in on that. Kind of what Eric shared was the music starts first, which I think is frequently the case. You get a tune in your head, you get a riff in your head, whatever it is. And I, as a terrible bassist and terrible guitarist myself, I know that either one of those can be really effective in writing a song. You can start from either end. But kind of how does it start with you guys? Does it start with you, Bryant, kind of like laying down some licks or a rhythm?
It just depends. Either Eric will have an idea or I will have an idea. And like, say if I have an idea, I'll have a riff and then I'll show it to Eric, and then he knows how to kind of just arrange it in what he would want to sing over as well. But either like I'll have a riff and then we'll expand on that, or Eric will have a riff and expand on that. And then kind of just goes from there.
Yeah.
It kind of just, and what it is like we just play a riff, and then sometimes we don't even say anything, and it just goes real quick. And it's like the first thing we play, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Cool.
That's freaky. That's freaky when that happens. I just playing with my music club, that happens really more often than I would have ever imagined. Like somebody starts going and then everybody just like falls in. Like it's
there. And then once you start questioning it, that's when it feels like work, and then it becomes difficult. You just let it go. That's how it goes. That's what we try to always do. Doesn't happen every time, but that's basically it. I don't know, Eric, do you feel the same or?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I told him. It's just like, when we first met, I'd played with people before, but Bryant and I just are on the same level, and it's weird. It's a really cool connection because when you don't have to like, discuss what you want someone to do and they just kind of flow into it organically, it's like that's real magic right there.
That's the real magic, baby. Cool about having Mucho drums with us. He's able to like throw in some good ideas too, and that's the first drummer that's been able to like throw in some ideas and have like some cool stuff.
Compliment the outfit. Yeah.
I wish he was here right now. I'm gonna text
why do drummers get such a bad rap in bands? Like, it always seems like the drummer's the whipping boy of every band.
That's not true. Have you ever heard that proverb? If a bass player and a drummer fall out of a plane at the exact same time, who hits the ground first? Who cares?
I was like, wait a minute, is it? Yeah.
Wow, that's fucking on point. That's on point, Eric.
So I'm just saying, Mucho's not the only whipping boy here.
That's okay. Well, good. I think. I'm not sure.
We got an elf on camera here. Okay, so
we do.
Yeah.
I can't see him, so I keep forgetting until he speaks.
Jimmy, did you have another question?
Oh no, you're good. No, mine were good. It's the lore question. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm technical. So what am I bringing? So this is rock and roll, and talking about the technical aspects of gaming and all that. I'm gonna just slide right on by and let the guys ask some more questions. So
let me ask you a question. What would you like us to write about?
There you go.
Ooh.
Well, you already got mimics, so I think we're covered.
Okay, done.
We talked about it a little, and I guess we can kind of close out on this, and I'd like to just hear what you guys have to say about it. But really, everybody, I'll kind of open it up to everybody. To me, when I heard that we were going to have you guys on, I have been listening to you guys for a while. I went back and listened to it way more just because I was grooving on it. I was telling Eric earlier, I've been in a big Red Fang clutch phase, so I've been I was really listening to the second edition album because that's really powerful for me. But when I think about you guys as a band, much like when we're running a game, I run games. There's that it's live. It's a live participation of several people who are all trying to make it work together. And I think just like in a band, more or less, there's somebody that's going to kind of lead it, and everybody else has to like join in and create that critical mass where suddenly it lifts up and turns into something that's shared. Like you're all doing it together. And so when you guys are playing live, like what can you tell the people who are watching, like that feeling of like getting the thing up off the ground? Because it's one thing to record, you can go back, redo, overdub, remaster, all that stuff. But when you're doing it live, like when do you know it's like really going over? Or when this, like, you think, man, this is the best time we've ever played this song. Like, what is that experience? Because as a GM, I know there's times where I'll think back on like a game a year ago. I'd be like, man, everybody was so into it. When we were done, people left smiling. People were talking about it for a week. Like, what separates like just the run of the mill thing from those experiences?
You got it, Eric?
No, you go ahead.
For me, I know when it's the best when I don't have any inner dialogue with myself when I'm up there playing, when I'm just like playing and having a good time.
Which I think also goes into like having the right people.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I'm playing and then hearing like Mucho hit some badass drum fill, like fuck yeah, go go, and we're literally like screaming at each other because it's so good. Mm-hmm. And then there's other times where it's not good nights, and then you're up there and you're playing like, man, I don't even want to be here. I sound like shit. I suck. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
So like either having a lot of fun and not thinking about it, or being like, oh, I suck. I should go home.
Is there a trick to recovering in those moments?
Just like D&D.
Not thinking about it. Just like Bryant and I will usually just like go next to each other and just try to like shake it out and just just keep dancing.
Feel it.
Keep dancing.
Yeah.
Kiss like Gene Simmons.
No.
Yeah, I love those moments when I'm watching a band where you can just see it just takes off and ascends. And I was watching a bunch of your live videos. I think there was a show you were playing with Celtic Frost and a bunch of other people. Mm-hmm. And there was just one of the tracks, I had it going in my basement, and it just suddenly it exploded. And I was like, whoa, dude, this is crazy. So I know that feeling is just really critical to a strong live performance.
Yeah, it's the best.
So why don't we do
one request from the chat to write a song about a Tarrasque.
That's Gary. Yeah. He's always wanting a Tarrasque.
Okay.
The biggest monster in the world.
We should actually let's do this for you guys. Tomorrow, we'll start a poll on our Facebook page, and we'll take the top 10 requests, see what monsters or topics people want to hear you guys write about.
Let's do it. I'm so
that sounds fucking awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
That's like a help.
We're here for you guys.
Yeah.
Keep making awesome music.
Dude, thanks, man.
Yeah.
We've been working on a new album too. In addition to we're going to try to get out to promote High Fantasy coming up in the new year. But like we've been working on a new album, so I need a lot of lyrical content. So I'm
just going to throw this out here. Don't call it 4th edition.
No, man, no way.
Don't do that.
That's another good one. That's
Next one's the live album. We're going to call it 3 Point Live.
There you go. There you go.
Live.
Yes,
I like
3
that.
Point Live. I like
Yeah.
it. Well, hey, I just the time goes too quickly, man. Eric, Bryant, it was super nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, very nice.
It was really nice to talk about this confluence of like music and gaming have been tied together for a long time. Not just the music itself, but the lyricism, the art, just the sound of it. You know, the aggressive sound of it. So much of D&D is based in like combat and slaying monsters, and there's nothing better than like some super heavy, sludgy bass lines and crunchy guitars to make you think I'm killing orcs. So like, Brian's probably like, okay, nerd, but Eric knows what I'm talking about. And no, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about too.
Well, so does the elf. He knows.
I do. I'm wearing that suit, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So tonight's guest was Gygax the Band, and you got to check out all their music, man. It is if you ever thought, man, what I really need is a band who like completely synthesizes the two things I love, heavy metal and like Dungeons and Dragons. These guys crush it. And my favorite, we're gonna do it once around. What's your favorite, Bri? What's your favorite album?
My favorite album from
Brian.
Just anything.
Out of the three you guys have made, what's the one you think is like the strongest for you? What you're doing?
High Fantasy for damn sure, and I'll tell you why really quick.
Please do.
Those are a lot faster. The songs are shorter, and it just hits a lot harder.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big fan. As I said earlier, of 2nd edition. Brian, what about you?
Oh, I'm OG. I gotta have the first album. Yeah. Just.
So as you can,
every single song on there, I love it.
So Eric, what about you, man? Of the three you guys have done, what is when you think fondly back?
Oh, it's always the most recent. So it's
okay. Fair enough.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't expect you really to say anything else. So, everybody, there's plenty of Gygax out there to listen to, and there's more on the way. I think was what we're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely going to post more about this before we get everything chunked out over to YouTube by the end of the week. So we're going to say goodbye to the guys from Gygax. Guys, it was super nice having you here, and we really appreciate you taking time out to talk with a bunch of nerds.
Hey, thank you for having us, man. I had a great time.
Good, yeah. Thanks. Awesome to have you.
We'll reach out, hook you guys up with some cool swag.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Nerd.
And we'll try and get you out to Gary Con. Maybe we can
Gary
get
Con.
Start the petition for that.
Yeah, we'll start a petition for Gary Con, and we got to get you to Gen Con too, because man, playing that thoroughfare, it's like 200 or 300 people show up, man. It's not a bad little on the street show.
What if we raise the money via Kickstarter for you guys to come play?
Let me talk to my manager.
All right. Good. This offline, #offline discussion.
I'm so down, dude. I mean, if we can find the resources to get out there, we are more than ready to go and play for you guys.
You would have to come to Indiana.
Yeah, well, let's do it. We're gonna have a game too.
But there are people who love you.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so guys, take it easy. Have a great rest of your night, and we're looking forward to more music.
Right. Thanks so much for having us.
Right on.
Peace out, gentlemen.
Thank you, gents.